let's dive into something pretty crucial in Salesforce CPQ, the data model.
Ooh, the data model.
It really is like the blueprint of your whole CPQ system.
Okay.
So we're going to break down some of those core pieces
Yeah.
and see how they all fit together to make that CPQ magic happen, right?
Right.
And we've got some great visuals from the CPQ study guide
Oh, perfect.
to kind of help us along the way.
I like that, the blueprint analogy.
Yeah.
It's a good way to think about it because when we talk about the Salesforce CPQ data model, we're really talking about relationships.
But
You have all these different objects and they all connect and they all work together to kind of manage that entire quote to cash process.
so it's not just a bunch of random objects just floating around.
It sounds random at all.
There's a method to the madness.
Yeah, there's definitely a method to the madness, and understanding those relationships is key to really unlocking the power of CPQ. You know, think of it like a network where each object plays a specific role and they all communicate with each other.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the key players in this network.
Oh, okay.
Where do we even begin?
I think a good place to start is products,
Okay.
because those are at the core of your CPQ system, right?
Right.
But what's interesting about products is that you have different types.
Okay.
So it's not, a one-size-fits-all situation.
Like-
You have your standard products, you have your subscription products,
Okay.
you have bundles, and you even have something called multidimensional quoting products, or MDQ for short.
MDQ, multidimensional.
Yeah,
That sounds kind of intense.
it can be.
What kind of situation would call for something like that?
Let's say you're selling a software subscription, and,
Okay.
and the price of that subscription depends on, I don't know, the length of the contract,
Okay.
the number of users, the features that are included. So MDQ lets you kind of break down the pricing into those different dimensions.
Okay.
So it becomes much easier to manage.
So it's like a superpower for handling really complex products and pricing.
It is.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So we've got products defined.
Mm-hmm.
That's where product rules come in.
Yeah. So product rules are all about automating your configuration process.
Okay.
So imagine being able to automatically configure a product based on certain rules.
Right. So less room for error.
Exactly.
It saves your sales team a ton of time.
Yes.
Leads to happier customers.
Absolutely. Faster quotes, fewer errors, happier customers.
I like where this is going.
Good.
Okay, so we've got the product itself. We've got rules for configuring it.
Yeah.
What's next in this this CPQ data model adventure?
Well, we can't forget about pricing, right?
Of course not.
And that's where price rules come into play.
Okay.
So price rules take the guesswork out of pricing by automating your calculations based on certain criteria.
Okay.
So quantity discounts, special promotions.
So no more spreadsheets, no more calculators.
Exactly. It's all about efficiency and accuracy.
I like it.
And speaking of making things look good, we can't forget about quote templates, right?
Oh, yeah.
They help you create professional, polished-looking quotes.
Presentation is everything, right?
It is.
Got to make a good first impression.
Exactly.
A well-designed quote can go a long way.
For sure.
But, okay, let's back up a little bit.
Yep.
How do you even get all of this data into CPQ in the first place?
That's a great question.
What if you're, like, switching from another system or moving to a different Salesforce environment?
That's where data migration comes in.
Okay.
And that can get, a little tricky if you don't understand the relationships between the objects.
Okay.
You really got to make sure you're migrating the data in the right order.
Can you give me an example of what could go wrong? Just to,
Sure.
keep me up at night.
So let's say you try to migrate product features
Okay.
before you migrate the actual products themselves.
Okay.
CPQ wouldn't know what to do with those features because the products don't exist yet.
It's like building a house without a foundation.
Exactly.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got to have that foundation.
Okay, so understanding the CPQ data model is crucial,
Absolutely.
not just for using CPQ day-to-day, but for things like data migration as well.
Yep. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of connections, what about companies that operate globally?
Okay.
How does CPQ handle multiple currencies?
Yeah. So Salesforce CPQ has you covered there.
Okay.
The key is understanding how opportunities, quotes, and price books
Oh, okay.
all work together to manage those multi-currency scenarios.
So like a sales rep in Europe could be working on a deal in euros,
Mm-hmm.
while a rep in the US is seeing everything in dollars and it just all works.
Yeah, that's the goal. It's seamless, right?
Right.
CPQ will handle the currency conversions
That's awesome.
and display the correct price based on the currency.
Wow, now that's what I call a global solution.
Yeah, it is.
But we're just getting started right.
We are.
There's so much more to explore within the CPQ data model.
Oh, yeah.
Where do we go from here?
So we've laid a good foundation, right? We've talked about these core objects.
Yeah.
But now I think it's time to dig into some of the more specialized aspects of the data model, like field sets and
Right.
data flow.
Data flow. Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It is?
Tell me more.
All right, so one of the key concepts here is something called twin fields.
Twin fields.
Twin fields, yeah. So think of them as two fields that are linked together,
Okay.
even though they might live on different objects.
Okay.
So when you update one twin field,
Yeah.
the other one automatically gets updated with the same information.
Oh, so they're like mirroring each other.
Exactly.
Okay, why is that so important?
It's all about efficiency and data integrity, right?
Right.
So let's say you have a warranty field on your product object.
Okay.
With twin fields, you can automatically populate that same warranty information on the related asset record when an order is placed.
Oh, that's pretty slick.
It is.
So it's like CPQ's doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes.
Exactly. So no more manual data entry,
Right.
no more inconsistencies.
Got it.
It just works.
But what if something goes wrong?
Yeah.
What if the data doesn't flow properly?
That's where, understanding the data flow and having some troubleshooting tips
Okay.
can really come in handy.
Right.
For example, a common issue is when, quote, sync fails.
Oh, okay.
That can happen for a few reasons, like the, quote, not being marked as primary
Got it.
or the opportunity lookup field not being populated correctly.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing what the objects are and how they relate.
Right.
It's about understanding the potential pitfalls and how to resolve them as well.
Exactly. You got it. The CPQ data model is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But like any tool, you got to know how to use it properly.
Right.
And that includes knowing how to troubleshoot when things go wrong.
This is all starting to click for me now. It's like we're peeling back the layers of the onion here,
Yeah.
seeing all the little details that make CPQ tick.
It is. It's a lot of intricate details, but it's fascinating stuff.
It is.
So, maybe before we move on,
Yeah.
we could just do a quick little recap.
Sounds good. A recap never hurts.
Yeah, just to kind of solidify what we talked about.
So we started with those core building blocks.
Mhm.
Products, product rules, price rules, and quote templates.
Yep.
Then we talked about the importance of understanding those object relationships, especially for things like data migration.
Yeah.
We even touched on how CPQ handles those multi-currency situations.
Right.
And then we kind of dove into the world of field sets, data flow, those twin fields.
Absolutely. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we did.
But the best part is all of this knowledge will be so valuable as we continue our deep dive into the CPQ data model.
Okay.
So get ready, because things are about to get even more exciting.
Oh, I'm excited.
Welcome back. We've spent some time understanding those fundamental objects and relationships within the CPQ data model.
Right.
But now I think it's time to shift our focus to something super important in any sales process, pricing.
Okay, I'm ready.
Pricing.
Pricing can be a tricky thing.
It can.
So I'm really eager to see how CPQ can help us kind of tame that beast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about, automation and flexibility.
Okay.
CPQ gives you a whole bunch of tools and strategies to really tailor your pricing to specific customer needs.
Okay, so let's talk specifics.
Okay.
What are some of the common pricing methods that businesses can implement using CPQ?
All right, so one really popular approach is something called block pricing.
Block pricing.
Yeah, so this is kind of your classic volume discount strategy.
Okay.
So you might offer a lower price per unit for customers who purchase larger quantities.
Right.
So for example, you could set up pricing tiers where the unit price decreases as the order quantity increases.
The more you buy, the more you save.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a win-win for everybody.
Right, a classic.
Another really powerful tool is what we call percent of total pricing,
Percent of total.
or POT pricing for short.
LT.
Yeah. And this method allows you to price a product as a percentage of the total value of other products on the quote.
Okay.
So imagine you're selling a service contract
Okay.
that's always priced at, say, 10% of the total hardware cost.
Right.
POT pricing will automate that calculation for you.
That's pretty clever. It keeps everything in proportion.
It does.
It's like having a built-in pricing calculator that adjusts dynamically.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then if you're in a business where bundles are really common,
Hmm.
option pricing can be super helpful.
Option pricing. Yeah.
Yeah, it lets you offer different prices for products depending on whether they're sold individually or as part of a package.
Oh, yeah. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
Like you buy a laptop and all of a sudden the printer is $50 cheaper if you buy it as part of a bundle.
Exactly, exactly. It's a great way to kind of incentivize customers to buy more, increase your average deal size.
Right. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got all these great tools for setting kind of like those base prices.
Hmm.
But what about situations where you need to offer more customized pricing,
Right.
like special discounts for certain customers or things like that?
Yeah, CPQ has got you covered there too.
Okay.
There are a few ways to implement discounts. You can have what we call option discounts.
Option
So
discount?
those apply specifically to products that are part of a bundle.
Okay.
Then you have discount schedules,
Okay.
which allow you to set up those tiered discounts based on volume.
Oh, the classic tiered discount.
Yeah, the more a customer buys, the larger the discount.
Encourages them to spend more to reach that next level.
It does. It's very effective.
Right. So it's win-win.
And then, of course, you can always apply manual discounts on a case-by-case basis.
Right. Got to have that flexibility.
Exactly. Got to give your sales team some flexibility.
Okay, so we've got all these pricing methods.
Mm-hmm.
We've got these different discount options.
Yeah.
But how does CPQ actually apply all of these to come up with that final price?
Right. It can get kind of complex.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But that's the beauty of CPQ, right? It handles all of those calculations behind the scenes.
Okay.
So let's go back to block pricing, for example.
Okay.
CPQ will look at the quantity that's been ordered,
Okay.
and then it determines which pricing tier applies,
Right.
and then it automatically calculates the total price based on that unit price for that tier.
So it's like CPQ's doing all that heavy lifting for us,
It is.
making sure the right price is applied.
Exactly.
That's got to take a lot of pressure off the sales team.
It does, yeah. So they can focus more on, building relationships and closing deals.
Right. The important stuff.
And it's not just about the base price,
That's
right?
Right.
CPQ will also factor in any applicable discounts,
Okay.
adjustments, even taxes, to give you that really comprehensive and accurate quote.
It's like the ultimate pricing automation tool.
It is.
But I'm thinking, there are going to be times when you need to override those automated calculations.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to do that without messing everything up?
Absolutely. You can do manual price overrides,
Okay.
but it is important to use them, carefully.
Right.
You want to make sure you have a good balance between automation and flexibility.
Right. So you can give your sales team the ability to adjust prices, but maybe within certain limits.
Yeah, or maybe require approval for larger overrides.
Right. So you still have that control and oversight.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. So it's all about finding that sweet spot
Yes,
where you have a control, but you're also empowering your sales team.
exactly.
Okay. Now we've talked a lot about, kind of standard products, pricing.
Mhm.
Let's not forget about subscriptions.
Yeah.
They add a whole other layer of complexity, right?
They do.
How does CPQ handle subscriptions?
So CPQ is well equipped to handle all the intricacies of subscriptions. It uses something called a prorate multiplier to calculate the subscription price for a given quote line.
Okay.
And that multiplier takes into account things like the product's default subscription term
Yeah.
and the actual length of the subscription on the quote.
So if a customer signs up for a 6-month subscription instead of the standard 12-month,
Yeah.
the price is adjusted accordingly.
Exactly. They're only charged for what they use.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have even more advanced features like multidimensional quoting or MDQ,
Oh, MDQ, right?
which we talked about earlier, which are specifically designed to handle those really complex subscription scenarios.
Right, those multifaceted marvels.
Yes.
Okay, it's all starting to come together.
Good.
We've got the building blocks of the data model.
Yeah.
We've got these pricing methods, the discounts. We've even got subscription management.
Yeah,
It's like a well-oiled machine.
it is. And we're going to dive even deeper into the inner workings of that machine
Okay.
in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to explore the tools that allow you to automate even those complex pricing calculations
Okay.
and really customize your CPQ implementation.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
So things like price rules, lookup queries, and summary variable.
I can't wait to unlock the full potential of CPQ pricing.
Me too. It's going to be great.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the Salesforce CPQ data model.
We're back.
We've explored those core objects, how they all relate.
Right.
We even talked about some of the pricing strategies.
Yeah.
But now I think it's time to unveil the real magic behind CPQ.
Oh, okay.
The automation
Yes.
that makes it such a powerful tool.
Absolutely. And when we talk about automation in CPQ, I mean, we really got to talk about price rules.
Price rules, okay.
They're kind of,
They sound powerful.
they are. They're kind of the brains behind your pricing strategy.
Okay, tell me everything.
Okay, so think of price rules as sets of instructions that tell CPQ what to do under very specific circumstances.
Okay, so like if this happens, then do that.
Exactly, exactly.
So if a customer orders a certain quantity, a discount is automatically applied.
Yeah.
Or if a certain product is added to a bundle, then the price is adjusted accordingly.
Exactly. And the beauty of price rules is that they're so flexible.
Okay.
You can use them to automate just about any pricing scenario you can think of.
All right, so before we get carried away with all the possibilities,
Yeah.
let's break it down a little bit.
Okay.
What are the core components of a price rule?
So every price rule has three key elements. You have your evaluation scope,
Okay.
you have your price conditions, and your price actions.
So the what, the when and the then, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Of your pricing logic.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it.
So evaluation scope basically tells CPQ where to look for the rule.
Okay.
So it determines whether the rule is evaluated in the calculator, which is used for calculations related to individual quote lines,
Okay.
or the configurator, which comes into play when you're configuring bundles.
So the scope kind of sets the stage for the rule.
Exactly.
All right, what about those price conditions? They sound pretty important.
They are the if part of our if-then statement.
Okay.
They define the specific criteria that must be met for that price rule to be triggered.
So you could have a price condition that checks if the opportunity amount is above a certain threshold.
Yep.
Or if a particular product is included in the quote.
You got it. And you can get very granular with your conditions.
Okay.
Using fields from different objects, configuration attributes, even formulas
Wow.
to really define the criteria.
It's like setting up a series of checks and balances
It is.
to make sure the right pricing is applied in every scenario.
Exactly.
Okay, so once those conditions are met, what happens next?
That's where the price actions come in.
Okay,
They're the then part of our rule.
right.
So they define what actions CPQ should take when those conditions are met.
So the action could be like applying a discount or maybe updating a field value or even like sending an alert or triggering a workflow.
All of those things, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That gives you a ton of flexibility.
This is making a lot of sense, but I have to admit, I'm a little intimidated by the complexity.
Yes, Thursday.
Like, how do you even begin to build these price rules?
Yeah, I mean, it might seem daunting at first, but CPQ actually provides a pretty user-friendly interface for building them.
Okay.
You don't have to be a coding expert to create really powerful pricing logic.
So it's more about understanding the logic in the data model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Than it is about, like, writing complex code.
That's good to know. That makes me feel better.
Good. And there are even more tools available to help you kind of create those more sophisticated price rules.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of summary variables or lookup queries?
I feel like I've heard those terms, but I'm not sure I've ever actually used them.
Okay, so summary variables are super useful when you need to aggregate data from multiple sources to use in your price conditions.
Okay.
So let's say you want to offer a discount. If the total quantity of all products in a, quote, line group exceeds a certain number, you could use a summary variable to calculate that total quantity
Okay.
and then use that in your price condition.
So it's like a mini calculation
Yeah,
that feeds into the main price rule.
Exactly. And then you have lookup queries,
Right.
which allow you to pull in data from those external objects to use in your price rules.
So if you had like a custom object that stores some industry-specific pricing data,
Yeah,
you could use a lookup query to pull that in
you got it.
and use it in your price rule.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful stuff.
It is. It really opens up a lot of possibilities.
It's amazing how much you can automate with CPQ.
It is. It really is. But of course, things don't always go according to plan.
Right. What are some of those like common pitfalls to watch out for?
Well, one common mistake is using lookup relationships that don't originate from the correct objects in your formulas.
Okay.
So you got to make sure you're using fields from the quote line or quote line group objects directly.
So again, it's all about understanding those object relationships.
Exactly. It all comes back to that.
Right. Okay.
Another thing to watch out for is using lookup queries that could return multiple rows.
Okay.
That'll cause your price rule to fail.
Got to keep those queries nice and focused.
Yes.
Any other words of wisdom?
Sometimes you might encounter a situation where a price rule just doesn't seem to be working, even though everything looks right.
Right. Happens to the best of us.
In those cases, it's often helpful to just check the order of calculations.
Okay.
So if a formula field that's referenced in your price rule depends on other fields that haven't been calculated yet,
Yeah.
you might need to click that calculate button a couple of times just to get everything to update properly.
So it's like a domino effect.
It is.
One calculation triggers another.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. And of course, always a good idea to double check everything.
Always, always double check. Make sure you're using the right fields, the right operators, the right values.
Attention to detail is key.
It is.
It sounds like mastering those price rules is really about understanding the logic, the data model,
Absolutely.
and maybe a little bit of trial and error.
Yeah, a little bit of trial and error never hurt anybody.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of the CPQ data model.
It has.
We started with those fundamental building blocks.
Right.
Then we went into all the intricacies of the pricing strategies,
Yeah.
and now we've uncovered the magic of price rules and automation.
It's all connected.
It is. It really is all connected.
That's a beautiful thing.
And I think understanding the CPQ data model is really the key to unlocking the full potential of this amazing platform.
I agree.
It's not just about knowing what the objects are, it's about how they relate to each other,
Yeah.
how the data flows through the system,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can use that knowledge to create a really seamless and efficient quote-to-cash process.
Well said.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Salesforce CPQ.
Until next time.
Happy CPQing.